And we're live. So good morning. Good morning. It's a rainy Friday in the South. It's been a rainy Friday and Wednesday and Thursday at Mobile in the Senior Bowl, which to my Seattle friend Nick, who wants to watch quarterbacks in adverse conditions, he was pleased. Now,
Man,
some of the poor folks out in Mobile who were not prepared for the elements, I saw some guys in sandals and shorts and t-shirts and 60-degree weather and 15-mile-an-hour wind and rain isn't real good for that type of now this old guy here, I was prepared. I had on my big rain jacket and I had on a giant umbrella because I was close enough to drive, and I took everything I needed. So what was interesting though, Nick, is some of my video that I'm shooting, the wind was gusting strong enough that I about Mary Poppins right off the back of the stadium. So some of those were kind of interesting. But how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty well. It's going to be a busy day for me, work-wise, so got that to look forward to. But weekend is right around the corner. Excited to keep digging through this Senior Bowl tape. Probably going to watch the game on Saturday. I know the game's not as important, but you can still see some of the flashes and whatnot. I still remember Josh Allen being the MVP of the Senior Bowl back in 2018. So it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm getting excited for summer. Man, it's turning 30 this weekend, and I am so ready for the sun and the mountains and everything like that again.
30's fun. I've said before, 30s are probably, I mean, that's when you're in your prime. You're thinking, hopefully I'm out of my student debt years. I'm not, a broke just trying to find my way in the world, and I actually have some disposable income and a little bit of wisdom.
I
So,
don't know about that.
well, you should, hopefully. And if you won't, you go find some in your 30s, because then when you're in your 40s, you look back and think, man, I was an obnoxious kid in my 30s. So let's say good morning to some of the folks in the chat as they're rolling in. EJ was here. EJ says, good morning, Scott. Let's talk Senior Bowl. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then Tyrone Johnson comes in. He says, what about Jordan Davis to the Steelers? Hey, Tyrone, appreciate you joining us this morning. Now, I've picked up probably in the last 2 or 3 weeks close to 200 new subscribers on YouTube.
Wow.
So thank you and welcome. Nick and I talk process. We talk general manager stuff. We talk free agents. We talk draft. So while, I live in Atlanta and he covers the Denver Broncos, we're more interested in more than that. So when you want to ask me about Jordan Davis to the Steelers, we'll know Jordan Davis and we'll look and say the Steelers at 20, Nick, that might be, I don't know if he'll last that long, but I think that would probably be the right spot for him. What do you think? Now, Jordan Davis, for those of y'all don't know, is the gigantic man mountain nose guard defensive tackle at 360 plus pounds that plays for the University of Georgia.
Yeah, that would be a good spot for him. Obviously, the Steelers are a team that, much like the Broncos, they have a lot of good pieces there, but what the bleep are they going to do at the quarterback position? And until they figure that out, everything seems a little bit, just moving things around to move things around. But Jordan Davis would be a solid fit there. I'd be really curious to see how he would play off of Stephen Tuitt, who was not around this year, had some personal stuff going on, and Cameron Hayward, who is one of the most underrated interior defensive linemen of the last decade. So that would be a lot of fun for the Steelers on the defensive line. But man, watching that Steelers team last year, if it's not quarterback, it's got to be offensive line, right? Like it's not a good draft strategy to go in thinking you have to go one way or the other, but like that offensive line needs an infusion of talent without a doubt. And if it's not quarterback again, probably got to be offensive line. And you just use a first round pick on Najee Harris, right? Like if you want to maximize that investment, you got to work in the offensive line.
Well, and the good news for someone needing offensive line, especially later in the rounds, I think you will be able to get a really good, you shouldn't have to reach for Alex Leatherwood at 17, 18 in that range. You should have a couple pretty good options if you wanted to go offensive line where it doesn't feel like a reach. The best drafts are the ones that meet a need with the best player. Where you start getting in trouble is not with taking the best player. That's usually pretty safe. Good stacking your team with good football players is a good strategy. You can find a way to use them. But when you reach and you get a guy that can't play because you thought you needed to fill a need, that's when you start getting in trouble. So I think Tyrone, if you go offensive line, you should be good. And Jordan Davis here, I'll tell you what, Tyrone, let me bring up this video real quick while I'm share a video file. While I'm bouncing around trying to find this here, I want to talk about Travis Jones. Now, Travis Jones is from Connecticut, and he's 230 pounds. I mean, 330 pounds. He's just a little fella, but look how low he is. As you're watching him get in his stance, look how low he gets down there, almost like a catcher. So, and then the explosion and strength he has with his hands coming out of here. And I haven't cut up all his videos yet. This is just a basically, can you hold your ground drill? And I've got a lot more. And his Travis Jones one-on-one highlights are on my channel also, with all of the national team highlights.
God. Poor Cade Mays.
Travis Jones, I think, could be an option as well. Middle half, later second round for those looking for an interior lineman.
Yeah, no, he is I like a lot. Obviously, was 6'4", 330, a lot of power. What I saw yesterday, they had some work with the entire unit, and he actually displayed some lateral agility as well, which impressed me. He's not just, I'm big and strong coming downhill. If he has to work laterally against an outside zone run scheme, he can actually hang and then penetrate. So he's a lot of fun. And you know me, I'm all about the value game when it comes to the draft, right? It is a value game in the end. And I would much rather go with Travis Jones in the second than Jordan Davis in the first, even though I know what Jordan Davis is a better player, but like the value of a nose tackle who is going to come off the field. I mean, how often are you in sub? How often is Jordan Davis and Travis Jones going to be on the field? It's important to stop on first and second down to get in the third and longs, no doubt. But still, are you taking a guy that's playing 50% of your defensive snaps in the first round? Unless you have like 3 first-round picks, I don't know if that's a good allocation of resources.
3rd and 3 or longer, those guys are coming off the field.
Yep.
Maybe even 3rd and 2 and longer. 3rd and 2 feels like a passing down most of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like, and I agree with you. I'd rather, the Atlanta Falcons have a gaping hole in the middle. They've got holes everywhere. Let's be honest. They could really use a big nose guard. Jordan Davis would fit into the Atlanta Falcons scheme, turnkey. With that 3-4. But I don't want them taking him at 8.
No.
I'd be thrilled to get Travis Jones with one of their second-round picks. They've got 2 of them. It's 36 or 37, somewhere in there, and then 58. So one of those 2 picks with Travis Jones, and my mouth is watering. I don't know if either of those guys will last that long, though. So it might be a little tough. EJ coming in, saying Mike Tomlin is in love with Malik Willis. Do you think the Steelers would trade up to get him? Now, Nick, if you are drafting in the top 10 right now, tell me why. This is a loaded question, so I already know the answer. Tell me why it's so important that these quarterbacks have good days, look good.
Why is it important that they have good days?
Yeah, let's say you're the Falcons and you're the Broncos, and maybe you're not sold on Malik Willis, but why are you excited if Malik Willis looks really good?
Well, I think everybody is going to remember, obviously, we'll see how the Super Bowl plays out, but I think the lasting impression from this last regular season is going to be Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen going blow for blow in one of the most incredible displays of quarterback performances we've ever seen in a single game in NFL history. And both those guys, it's not just that are able to make the throws and the reads and play within the pocket. They have bazooka arms. They run like running backs or tight ends. They're just incredible athletes. And Malik Willis specifically is a guy who has those traits. Now, obviously, it's like linebacker, where if you have all the athleticism in the world, it doesn't matter if you can't process. Like quarterback, if you can't read the field, if you are not accurate with the football, I don't care if you're the fastest guy with the strongest arm, you're not going to work. But you need to have everything in my book if you're going to be a top 10 pick, hanging, especially the young guys these days. Everybody's like, oh, what about Tom Brady? What about Peyton Manning? Those are guys that were drafted nearly 20 years ago. The game has changed, right? Like the young quarterbacks outside of Joe Burrow right now, he's the only one who doesn't have the bazooka arm. He's really good down the field. The velocity is not incredible.
Well, people talk about Mac Jones too.
I'm not ready to crown him.
Yeah, me neither. But there is, again, you can be, if you're a plus quarterback, you can win a lot of games. Mm-hmm. You can. And I think Mac Jones is going to show to be a plus quarterback. Where I'm going with this one, though, on why is it so important that Malik Willis, I'm sorry, and Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral, It's because let's say you're the Falcons and maybe you fall in love with one of those guys. Great. Now there's a couple of them. You can maybe take one at 8. I don't advocate for that, but maybe you can get your quarterback of the future, maybe move on from, let him play. It'd be great to let him play a year under Matt Stafford. Golly, come on, Scott. My coffee's too hot. I haven't had any yet. Under Matt Ryan, and move on from there. However, who gets the best value in trade situations, Nick? If guys are trading up and I want to trade down, what position do I need to be available if I'm the Falcons and I want to move from 15 and maybe pick up, another first-round pick or a couple second-round picks? What position needs to be there for that to maximize my trade value to move down?
The quarterback tax.
The quarterback.
Yep. Got to pay the quarterback tax.
So if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, I love the fact that if I'm the Denver Broncos drafting at 9, if I'm the Jets at 10, I love the fact that people are talking up Malik Willis. Love it. Love it. Now, there is reason to talk up Malik Willis. I posted his highlights from first 2 days of practice. Now, I watched almost every throw they made in the first day of practice. And the second day, I was more watching the competitive throws. So when they went to 7v7 and 11v11. But I posted this. Here, let me share this screen. Share screen. Share screen. Here we go. Now, I posted this just now on my YouTube channel just a few minutes ago. And, I like to lead off. I call it scouting video, too. I like to lead off, just get a feel for his mechanics. Get a feel for his mechanics and a couple nice throws. But you'll see this is the wind is there's a 20-mile-an-hour wind in his face on this throw. When he's throwing right to left, there's a 20-mile-an-hour wind in his face. That looks like a replay. I had to actually check and make sure that it wasn't the same file. Nice long throw to Shakir, I believe his name is, from Boise State. Right on the money. Has a nice throw up the right seam coming up as well. Drop it right in the bucket. Now, those were some of the better throws, if not the best throws I saw all week.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that get your attention. We talk about, what am I looking for? If I'm going to take a guy in the top 10, I need some plus. I really do. I don't need just, okay, he's serviceable. He's okay. That's a second-round quarterback. I need some plus. He's got plus tools. He's got a plus arm, and he's definitely a plus runner. I didn't even show anything on there of his scrambling ability, but he absolutely is a plus runner.
Yep. He's still probably going to be a little bit away. And these drills, I think, help highlight, obviously show the arm talent popping there. I'm really happy to see. I was chastised a little bit early on from some in draft Twitter saying Malik Willis has far and away the best arm here. Some people are riding the Carson Strong train. That died quickly because Malik Willis has such a different arm than him.
Yeah, and Nick, sorry to interrupt, that last throw up the seam. Did you see how easy his release was?
Quick.
There's just nothing to it.
Yep.
It was Michael Vick like. You've heard me talk about Vick before, how Vick could just flick his wrist and the ball would go 50, 55 yards down the field like that. That was a very similar throw, drop back, and I can bring it up again.
Yep.
In fact, why not? Why don't I bring it up again? Give me just a moment while it runs through the ads. It was easy. It's easy arm strength. When we talk about arm strength, I actually got into a big discussion about an arm strength. This kid won a long throw competition. I was bagging on his arm strength, and he was an All-American. Well, I was like, he didn't have enough arm. I'm sorry. He doesn't have a very strong arm. Well, he won the long throw competition. That's not strong arm. That's basically technique. That's a shot put or, a javelin throw. Yep. A strong arm is what can I do when my mechanics break down? Watch Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford does not have to have his feet set to throw with velocity. He doesn't have to wind up here. And I'm going to show this again real quick just to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. Malik Willis doesn't have to wind up, and it's the one up the right seam. This is the one that's coming at us. He doesn't have to wind up to throw. And that ball, big deal, Scott. It was a 40-yard throw. Yeah, but it was 40 yards into the dead wind. No one else was making that throw that day.
Yeah.
Look at the lanyards on everybody. They're blowing around in the background, Bailey Zappi's got it. His looks like a flagpole, but look how easy he makes that throw. I'll roll it back here just one more time. I love this. I really do. When we talk about arm strength, that's
Easy.
arm strength.
Yep.
That's playing catch in your backyard.
Yep. Arm
That's
elasticity,
That's
the ability to throw off different platforms, the ability to throw out of different arm slots. I mean, it's the Patrick Mahomes special. He does have questions. Malik Willis, unfortunately, Liberty was a bad roster this season, even comparative to his competition. The offensive line was terrible. He's not throwing to NFL guys. And I know that, it's like he's not going up against Division I talent very often. But like, I remember 2018 pretty well. That was one of my first drafts really on the scene. And I bought the cheese as far as Josh Allen. Well, he's playing worse people for Wyoming, and he's still not looking very good. Well, when your quarterback has NFL traits and he has to take off heat because he's throwing to future accountants or somebody working at Penske, something like that, for his wide receiver position, he's not going to look good because these guys are going to be dropping balls. They're not going to be getting open with timing and stuff. And you kind of saw that with Malik Willis at Liberty. He's going to have to learn to win from the pocket. Watching him, he is one where if it's not there, he's definitely looking to escape, and that's not going to fly in the NFL. I think he probably needs a redshirt season to just kind of like give him the proper answers to the test, like Trey Lance has.
I think he absolutely, and that's why if you're the Falcons, again, I don't necessarily want him at 8. I think he's a little too far away for a top 10 pick. I really do. I think because when he's got to make his reads, he's one read run when the pressure's on.
Yep.
That's got to get better. He's got to be able to trust, and he's got a couple throws in this whole reel. It's a 4.5-minute reel that I posted on there where he steps up, but there's also some where the end would have crushed him by then.
And just some data that we have, I want to go through here. There's Zebra Technologies, which has been working with the Senior Bowl since 2018. They have GPS data on the players as well as on the football. Malik Willis, so dating back to 2018, here's some of the arm talents that's been there since 2018. Jordan Love, say what you will about the quarterback, he's got a good arm. Josh Allen, fantastic arm talent in quarterbacks. Malik Willis has recorded the best speed and the highest average speed of any quarterback since that 2018. So that's 4 because there was none in 2021 due to what was going on in the world. And also he was the highest rated, highest recorded speed of any quarterback at that time. I was going through Pro Football Focus data also. Malik Willis, say what you will about the data or this metric, it's definitely not a perfect metric, but Malik Willis had the highest run grade of any player in college football last season as a quarterback. He also was second in the NFL in average yards after contact. This guy's a weird, he's a creative player, which maybe is a little taller, but man, if it clicks for him, it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's a guy, if you're going to miss on a guy with tools like Malik Willis has.
Yes.
And frankly, I think Sam Howell's probably my second favorite quarterback there. They're not that different. They really aren't. I think Malik has a little bit smoother release, a little bit, but Sam they're both, you put them in a uniform, switch uniforms, and put them all in white or black sleeves so you can't see skin tone. You might not know who's who for a while because, they're both 6 feet, 220 pounds, run the ball like running backs. I think Malik's got a little bit more lateral ability, and Sam will probably put his head down and try and move a pile, which he better break that habit.
Yeah, he's going to get
move into the NFL. But Nathan coming in here, Nathan Leituala, appreciate you coming in. Thanks for the support, Nathan. Says, do you think we'll see a playoff team from this year to try trade up in the top 15, looking to help for an edge to help their defense on a rookie deal?
I'm going to take this one real quick, Scott. I'm going to go with a hard, emphatic no, because the edge talent is so deep in this class. If like a Kayvon Thibodeau or an Aiden Hutchinson fall, you could see that. But I don't think the edge rusher you're going to get in 10 to 15 is going to be that different than the edge rusher you're going to get at 30 to 50 in this class, because there are so many bodies that are similar. Jermaine Johnson is going to go very high. David Ajabo, George Karlaftis, Trevon Walker, Cam Thomas. I'm probably even forgetting some people as well, but you're going to see a lot of those edge rushers go in that range. So I don't think it would be wise for a team to trade up for one of those guys. A position that might be worth trading up in this class, especially given what I saw at the Senior Bowl. Obviously, I don't believe in trading up super high in the draft unless you're trading up for a quarterback, given I'd rather have the extra picks, because I think that NFL teams in general are overzealous and overconfident in their own evaluations. So you should take the shotgun approach more so. But I think it's the cornerback position. I do not think the cornerback stood out well at all at the Senior Bowl. And it's a pretty top heavy cornerback position this year in the draft. There's a lot of names in the first round that will go there, but didn't see good length, didn't see good size, didn't see good movement at the Senior Bowl at that position.
That's not uncommon.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, running back, usually quarterback, but the true skill positions where you are fast, those guys, if they're coming out in 3, they're not making it to the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
If you go back and look through the draft, the running backs, receivers, and corners, the best of them that are taken are probably juniors. They probably are. The big men, they might be 4th-year guys. But the true skill players, it's hard to get there. I kind of talk about it like the University of Georgia or Alabama. You're dumb to redshirt a skill player, because when you're recruiting at that level, if you hit, he should be gone in 3 years. You'll never keep him 5 anyway. And if you miss, you don't want him to be there 5, because you can recruit to replace him and let him, especially now that they can, it was a little more cutthroat years ago, not that long ago, but I mean, literally a couple of years ago, where you just cut a guy and he had to sit out and you just screwed him over. Well, now he can go play somewhere else. Say, listen, I got a freshman coming in that's 6'2" and running a 4.35 and playing and quick hips and playing corner. So the skill guys, corner, receiver, running back, especially, the best ones don't make it to their senior years.
Yep, totally. But this class in general, pretty interested in some of those top cornerbacks in round 1. So that's what I'm thinking. Jeremy coming in. Hey, good people. He's talking to us. Happy 30th, Nick. Happy 30th.
There's lots of good people in the chat. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where are my Facebook folks? Come in and say hello. There's one. Steve says good morning. Broncos for breakfast. Yeah, good morning, Steve. I'm like, where are my Facebook folks? The YouTube one's coming in pretty good, but if you're on Facebook, say hi. I know there's several of you on there. And Nathan asked again. He says, Nick, are you going to take a page out of Scott's book and buy a motorcycle for your 30th? So that wasn't exactly a midlife crisis. Someone called it that once, because that was my 3rd street bike. Yeah, that was my 3rd street bike on my 30th. So I bought a big Yamaha Warrior, and I had it for about 18 years. I just sold it a few years ago. And then for my 40th, I got a Triumph Speed Triple.
My midlife crisis will involve me buying tickets to like Switzerland and backpacking for a month in New Zealand or something like that. So a little different.
Love it.
Trying to convince the wife to go to Alaska in August, but we'll see. Haven't been there yet. We're so close. Tyrone coming inside. I like Bailey Zappi for the Steelers quarterback in the 2nd round. Tyrone, I appreciate you coming in here today for the Steelers, but let me tell you, buddy, I would not use a 2nd round pick on Bailey Zappi in this draft. I think as we have disparaged this quarterback class in general, I think it's a class that's chock full of very good quarterbacks that should be there in the 2nd round. Bailey Zappi is not one of them. Listening around and talking with people, it did sound like actually Bailey Zappi's arm looked a little bit better day 2 and 3. Actually, some people said like maybe the weakest arm there was Kenny Pickett, which is concerning. That some of that might have to do with grip strength of the football. It actually might be because on tape for Pittsburgh, the ball looks fine, but it did not look the same at the Senior Bowl. I'm going to be completely honest. And because his hands are historically small, it just makes you question it, right? And especially because he wouldn't even have his hands measured. Like it's like red flag, red flag, red flag. But Bailey Zappi, let me turn you on to Caleb Ellerby in the 4th round, and let's talk. But I probably would not be into Caleb Ellerby.
Yeah, Tyrone, I love the production. I love the kid's brain. I do not love the kid's tools. I think 7th round, and you're looking at best a career backup, a clipboard holder, a 3rd string practice squad guy until I think his career path, like best case for me, is Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore was at the Senior Bowl a long time ago, and he went directly from the practice squad to the Dallas Cowboys coaching staff, coaching quarterbacks at 28, 29 years old. Now he's an offensive coordinator that led the #1 offense, and he'll probably be a head coach in 2023. That's kind of where I see Bailey Zappi. I don't see him as an NFL quarterback, but man, I mean, the numbers that he put up at Western Kentucky are just mind-boggling.
And in 2 different offensive systems.
Saying, rise up. Got a Falcons fan coming in with the Southern Miss. I have trouble, Kevin. You might actually remember this. I've said this enough times that people probably already know it now, but it was always one of my trivia questions that I could use to stump even the most diehard of Falcons fans. And it was, Who did the Falcons take in the first round with the first round draft pick that they received for Brett Favre? Nobody knows, but it was Southern Miss running back Tony Smith, who I think had 350 yards of offense or of yards from scrimmage, and it was all in his rookie season. Then he was out of the NFL. That was a tough one. Right? So I won't hold that against you, Kevin. I promise. Sunny Day's coming in, saying, some coffee. Absolutely. Hearts.
Thank you,
yes,
Sunny
sir.
Days.
Yes, sir. Chris, another of our Facebook. There's some of our Facebook folks coming in. Good. Love it. So good morning, guys. Just tuned in. Looks like there's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Chris, I was more encouraged with the line, especially the defensive line, but with the line of scrimmage. I loved the interior line last year, and I thought that played out pretty well, actually, with the guys that contributed early from Creed Humphrey to Quinn Miners. Help me out, Nick. There's some other guys in there that I thought who's the North Dakota kid?
His name was.
Maybe I'm thinking of Quinn Miners.
No, it's
Quinn
Miners was good. There's a North Dakota
guys.
State kid. His name was he was drafted by the Titans. He started this year for them at guard, and his name is blah. It's not.
We'll come back to that one.
Trey Smith was another one too, right? Tennessee.
And he didn't look that good last year at Senior Bowl.
But he's really big.
I didn't think he did.
Yeah.
But on the defensive line, my goodness, Chris, if you're a Falcons fan, the defensive line, I've got 4 picks of the top 75, and I've got basically 4 defensive linemen I need. I need at least a backup for Grady, and then 2 other starters, and then some more depth. So I love the defensive lineman here. I almost put Devontae Wyatt's picture on there as far as, the stock up guys. Yeah. Devontae Wyatt, University of Georgia, looks excellent. Wouldn't be surprised for me to see him at worst go to the Falcons with the second round pick, their first second round pick, might sneak into the first. Travis Jones. And then the more and more I watch Jermaine Johnson, because I watch more of the 11 on 11s, Nick, and Jermaine Johnson, former Georgia Bulldog, Florida State, my goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's going to – if he tests anywhere the way he plays, he should be top 15.
Yeah, especially in this class, I think there's a strong possibility that he will go that high. There is some talk that George Karlaftis will have 30-inch arms, which is concerning and could plummet him, to the bottom of the first round, because it's such a length-based position there at the edge. If you want to play some contain, especially with these quarterbacks that are so explosive outside of the pocket, if you don't have length at that spot, it can be a concern. But seeing Trey Hendrickson kill it, maybe they're not going to care as much with those power rushers. That's a lot like George Karlaftis as well. The big thing with me, and we're already at 30 minutes, but can we get to some big key takeaways from the event?
Sure.
You kind of nailed the big one for me. The defensive line. This is a great defensive line class, and I want to highlight some of these guys. Obviously, you talked about Devontae Wyatt, Lance Zierlein, who has been in the league for years. His dad was an offensive line coach for a number of years in the NFL. He does a lot of stuff for NFL Network, and he actually said Dylan Radunz. Yep. 100%. Yep. That's it. But Lance Zierlein actually dropped a comp yesterday that I texted you. It was like, oh my God, that's a deep in the vault. Tommy Harris for Devontae Wyatt was one that I remember Tommy Harris growing up because I grew up in the Midwest. A lot of fans were Bears fans, and they had those incredible Bears teams in the mid 2000s defensive wise. So he said Devontae Wyatt being Tommy Harris. I'm curious about Devontae Wyatt's scheme fit for the Falcons. If you're going to be 2-gapping, I think that a big reason that at Georgia he was not as flashy in the athleticism as we saw at the Senior Bowl is because they are asking you to contain offensive linemen and let their edges and linebackers go make plays, where Wyatt, I think, is much better as a get up field and attack kind of guy. But man, he is twitchy. He's athletic. He's going to go in the first round. I would be shocked if he doesn't go in the first round after this week. Somebody's going to see those traits. The other guys who really stuck out for me, I thought Logan Hall had a pretty good week. Not incredible, but definitely one who stood out. University of Houston has length, probably needs to continue to put on weight, but he's incredible. And the guy who I think, if Jermaine Johnson is number 1 coming out of this week, number 2 for me is Perion Winfrey from Oklahoma.
Another interior lineman.
Yes, incredible.
And Nick, I like John Ridgeway.
That was the next one. Yep.
I like Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson was wearing number 99, smaller school. Again, I haven't quite matched in my brain yet numbers and schools but Eric Johnson, number 99, I liked him as well. So Let me see, where did he go to school? He was Missouri State on the American
He was a
team.
late ad. Yeah, and his name is on Twitter. He is the creature. So I like that name. He's got really good arm length, good tools. He probably will need a
6'4",
year.
300 pounds.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun as well. I think he's got some versatility. So it's a very good interior defensive line class. Getting back to the Oklahoma kid, Perion Winfrey, he was the #1 JUCO recruit in the country. And Oklahoma plays more of a slanting front where it's more about getting disruption upfield. And if you can, take care of that gap, that's great. But it doesn't always lend itself to great stats. And also they are playing him as a nose with a lot of rotation on that Oklahoma front. So again, that's one of the reasons that this event is so big, because of what a scheme asks a guy to do. If they're a good player, they're going to do their job, right? But it's not always what they do best. And getting them down to the Senior Bowl, getting them to show different skill sets, asking them to execute different jobs on the field is big. And the one-on-ones, you can get a lot for those trench players. So Winfrey impressed me a lot. 35-inch arm length too. I mean, he's just, and also watching him between the reps and stuff too on the feed, a lot of energy. One of the more like bouncy kind of guys up there, hyping everybody up. So I really like him a heck of a lot. I think he's got some versatility as well. 3 technique, maybe some 5 technique too, and then kick down to 1 in sub package. I think it would be better for him rather than the nose tackle that we saw playing Big 12 football. So it's make believe defense out there. But really good defensive play. And then the edge rushers. You already talked Jermaine Johnson, but Sam Williams, was popping like crazy. He has a lot of burst. He's had injuries. He had an off-field incident. That's going to have to be vetted. We'll see how that goes. I really liked the upside of Boye Mafe from Minnesota. He's still kind of getting it together, but he's like 6'5", 270, big edge.
Is he that big?
Yeah, he's big. Yeah,
wow, because those are one of those, he wears that 34 out there, so he doesn't, you can't tell sometimes. But yeah, he was 6'3.5", 255.
Okay, 250. Okay, well, Minnesota lied about it.
Plenty big. He's a big kid.
He has long arms too. He's a lot of fun. From Minnesota, I like him a heck of a lot. He impresses me. Myjai Sanders,
82-inch arms on that 6'3" frame.
The wingspan.
That's insane. I'm 6'1". I'm 6'1", and my arm length is exactly my height. It's 72 inches. So he's this much taller than me and can reach up and, grab the basketball rim. That's physical difference. I call these people, they're a different caliber of human being. The kind of people that, if we get invaded from outer space, I want guys like this on my side.
Yeah, right. Who do you want to represent the human race in like a coliseum of like? So, and the 2 more edge guys I want to get to just real quick, because the defensive line talent at the Senior Bowl is what the big difference was. Kingsley Enagbare from South Carolina. He did not have a lot of sack production this year, but he had a lot of pass rush pressures, and he has 35-inch arm length. He's totally content right now just using his arms to forklift a guy into the backfield and then disengage. So he's going to need to work on some pass rush moves at the next level. But the length that he has, the power that he has, that translates. You know me, I'm a pocket cruncher kind of guy. I think power is better than the kind of finesse speed rushers in today's NFL when you're playing gap and a half and needing 6 guys to stop the run. I like him a heck of a lot.
Nick, what have I said 100 times? If you take this out of context, I'm going to sound like an idiot, but speed's overrated.
Yeah. I
think you've got to have the power, the 230-pound 4'6" running back that can break an arm tackle is more valuable than the 200-pound 4'5" running back that goes down on first contact. It's just,
100%.
And to your point, if I've got a guy that is maybe a 1/10 of a second faster in the 40, but I've got this guy who's 20 pounds heavier and a lot stronger, I want that guy on my team. This is a brute force momentum game, not just pure speed. The speed plays a little better in the college game, but that field, everybody's fast. The field gets smaller. It does. There's less space. There's less open space. So you've got to have more power out there for sure. So that's a good shout.
And the last one I want to get to, just real quick, just a shout. Arnold Ebiketie, another name that he's a little shorter, 6'3", but he also has crazy good arm length. Some of those tackles in the NFL, I think are going to have issues against him. He took it to Daniel Falele, I think, a few times because Falele is so tall and plays a little bit tall. Ebiketie could just kind of, whoop, there you go, and
what
disengage.
Number was he?
He might have been number 11. I don't have the roster up in front of me.
Yeah, I've got it right now. 11.
Penn State.
Dominic Robinson, Trey Turner. So Arnold Ebiketie was 17 from 17. Penn State. Yep. He was, again, you talk about length. He's 6. He's like, oh, he's only 6'2". but he's got 82-inch wingspan.
Yeah, he is pterodactyl. He is so fun.
When you can reach up, you worry about, keeping guys off you. And when you're watching those one-on-ones, watch their hands.
Mhm.
Watch that there's all the one-on-ones. There's 50 reps of one-on-ones. Watch their hands.
Yep.
The guys that get their hands placed first or keep their hands off are the guys that win the reps.
Yep.
And if I've got an extra foot in reach, not to mention the fact, the swim moves, all this kind of stuff, or I can bat down a pass, all of those things. So don't worry so much. Well, he's only 6'2". Yeah, but if they do this and they hold their hand up, he's reaching up as high as a guy that's 6'6". Yep. So it's not necessarily about the height. There's other parts in it. A lot of time it's the reach that goes with the height. That's why you're interested in the height.
Yep. Absolutely. Franklin Peterson coming in, $5 super over on YouTube. Franklin, thank you so much for supporting us on Scott's channel. And you guys joining us today, make sure you subscribe to Scott's channel at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Franklin says, appreciate the hard work out there in Mobile. Yeah, Scott, hopefully you're dry by now. Looks like you're dry.
My shoes dried out first day. So, and then yesterday, because of the weather, I actually drove home. So I missed day 3 of practice. Nick caught up on more than I did, but I got to see a lot more. Like I said, I shot about 600 video clips. So I've been going through them slowly but surely. Do the skill guys first, because those are the ones that get the most views. And they're the easiest to cut up. So I got the one-on-ones and then Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett up on the channel. But I'll have the rest of the quarterbacks done, and I'll start adding. And then, again, my guy last year was Spencer Brown. My guy this year might be Jermaine Johnson.
Okay. I mean, he's fun.
My nose, something's got my nose this morning. It's like, 60 and raining. So the allergies or something.
Yeah, but Franklin says, I want the best tackle at 9 if the Broncos have that pick. Go Broncos, roll Tide. Unprovoked, I had NFL Insider at 104.3 The Fan, Cecil Lamy, DM me yesterday saying the Broncos won't be picking at 9. So to look at tackles and edge rushers at in the day 2. So he's pretty emphatic.
Why aren't they picking at 9?
They're trading for a quarterback.
They're trading for a quarterback.
Yep.
They're gonna use that pick.
And it sounds like after the Senior Bowl, sorry to interrupt, but it sounds like after the Senior Bowl, the plan has shifted from maybe a guy at 9 in the draft to absolutely not a guy in the draft at 9 at the quarterback position. So I think they went in maybe interested in Kenny Pickett as a scheme fit, and they were emphatically unimpressed. And, yesterday was inside. Kenny Pickett was still struggling with some of the throws as far as velocity and getting it in there.
I like those guys doing those events, but, when you're already up in that area, you've got a lot to lose. Yep. How far will he fall? We'll see. And he might not. One of the comments in here came in about 15 minutes ago.
Is it about the center?
Says, and thank you so much for the support, Franklin. It says, let's say if Kayvon falls to number 4, do the Falcons consider the 8th pick in a 3rd round to move up to number 4 to take him? 1, it will cost you way more than a 3rd round. You couldn't, if I could send you a 3rd to move up to 4, I don't care who falls. I'd probably do it. Yeah. And just have the guy that I wanted. But it's going to cost you to move up 4 spots, typically costs you multiple 2nd rounds, if not another 1st round to move up from 8 to 4.
But it's not a quarterback. So maybe it's not as high this year.
But still not just a 3rd. That's too low.
It would probably take your 1st, 2nd, the earliest 2nd you have in the very least, plus 8. And the Falcons team, I'm very much a believer in defense. You want stars out there, but it's about the depth, especially in the back 7. And the Falcons need all the picks they can get in that regard. So
the Falcons should be able to get 4 starters with their first 4 picks. And so they need everyone they can get. And they come in. So I think that's where I wouldn't be giving away picks just yet. The higher picks, they need all the picks they can get. I'm more of an advocate for them trading down, because if Kayvon Thibodeau falls, there's really no reason to trade up to get him. There's too many questions. And if he goes out and kills it at his pro day and does all those things, then he's not going to fall to 4. Yeah. He might go number 1 overall. But Luke comes in and says, there a chance the Falcons go edge with their first 2 picks? I like Karlaftis and Sanders from Cincinnati. Karlaftis is the defense end for Purdue. Yeah, there's a good chance it could happen. I think with their first 3 picks, I'd love to come out of it with the Falcons with corner, an offensive tackle, and an edge. But if the board doesn't fall that way and there's not a corner you like, I'd go another edge. I'd go back-to-back edge for sure. Your edge last year, you don't have any on contract. Dante Fowler is a free agent. Steven Means is a free agent. And I had as many tackles after week 4 for loss and quarterback hits and sacks as Stephen Means did. So yes, I could absolutely. They're going to need 3 or 4 new edge players. So can you get those in the draft? Sure, absolutely. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Somebody was asking about best center in Mobile. Thank you so much for that question. I can't see it on here. It was asked multiple times, so I definitely want to get to you. Tristan FOU.
Just give me a time and I'll pull it up.
It was at 7:37.
Okay,
And
10:37. Okay,
yeah,
I'll come back down to that. Let me hit this one real quick
sure,
with
let's
Richard
do it.
Schaefer. It says, where was Mahomes ranked to go in the draft compared to where he did go? Go back and read Lance Zierlein's analysis on Mahomes. Pretty comparable to what you're saying about Willis. Yeah, it is, and that's the best case. Unfortunately, when you're playing the odds, Rich, you can always come up with the exception. There's a lot more guys who are erratic that didn't become Pat Mahomes than the erratic Pat Mahomes who became Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was. There was a former teammate doing an interview that made the rounds and just grilled the general manager, I think, for Patrick Mahomes. And when he saw him out there at practice in his first year, he's like, that's who you took at quarterback? Are you joking? And so he kind of made fun of himself, what a leap he made. So that was a great pick and great quarterback development. But yeah, that's what you're hoping. If you can get Malik Willis, if you can get Patrick Mahomes, you should go number 1 overall. If you can see that, if you've got the hindsight as foresight, Malik Willis goes number 1 overall.
Yep. It's the combination of the tools and the person. That's the thing. Like, I can't speak to you about Malik Willis's drive to be great, his drive to be the number 1, his intelligence. That's the thing about Mahomes. People are interviewing him on the whiteboard and stuff, and they're like, oh my God, this guy is brilliant on the whiteboard. Like, just so quick, and engaging and driven. Not to dump too much, cold water on today's show, but a rumor coming out now that last year, after Drew Lock didn't win the starting gig, he kind of just folded up shop and was not as engaged. That's not the competitive nature attitude that you want. You want that guy, Michael Jordan type, who cuts from his high school team, is like, okay, I'm going to go on and become the greatest of all time because F you, or the Tom Brady mentality as well. That's the kind of guy you want there. So will be interesting to see how it plays out. Sorry, I pulled out my headphone here, so if you're saying something, I can't hear you.
Lonzo Haith, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Lonzo, says, how high do you see Malik Willis going? I think he'd go 10 to 15, maybe at the highest.
Yep.
But you never know. It only takes one. I lost a steak dinner because, I said there's no way that Tim Tebow would go in the first round. No way. He's not a first round guy. And I lost. I was right, and I still lost.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that Malik Willis, 12 to 18 is a sweet spot for him. But it only takes one. It only takes one of these teams to say, that's my guy. Carolina Panthers could say, that's my guy. And he goes at 6. That wouldn't shock me.
And in the context of this class, is important too. Some people saying last year the first 12 picks in the 2021 draft would go before a single guy in this class this season. So that just goes to show that maybe though Malik Willis in an average draft goes to that 12 to 15 range, but somebody's like, I'm not going to get a blue chipper at pick 6 this year, which is unfortunate, but I'm not going to get that guy. I might as well just go boom or bust and take the dice roll on what has by far the biggest payoff at the quarterback position. So
and
interesting to see.
If I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I've got 3 first-round picks this year. I'm reading this right?
Yeah.
15, 16, 19. Someone should make them an offer. I'd love to trade back if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles.
He would be amazing. He'd be a very good fit for them with the outside zone kind of stuff they do. And his skill set to me is like, not to use a Pokemon reference here, but like an evolved version of Jalen Hurts. He's a better athlete than Jalen Hurts. He's got a much more live arm than Jalen Hurts. He's further away than Jalen Hurts, but you can just plug and play a similar offensive scheme with him. And once Willis is ready to go, that's great. And with the Eagles having all the picks they have, I think that'd be a great investment by them, honestly. So center prospect this week. I know Zion Johnson kicked over to play some center reps. He played tackle his two years ago at Boston College. He returned for that 5th-year option. I think under the agreement that he was going to play guard this year. He actually might be the first true guard off the board. this season, actually passing Kenyon Green from what I've picked up on, and he took some center reps. The guy that I want to highlight, though, that impressed me at the center position was Cole Strange. This year, I thought he looked the most natural there at the Senior Bowl, but we'll see. It's no Tyler Linderbaum, but Tyler Linderbaum's scheme specific. So I don't know. I don't think a center is a first round pick kind of guy, but it's what it is. What it is.
Yeah, and my favorite center. The interesting little tidbit: the first guy out at practice on Tuesday, period, was Zion Johnson. So if you're looking for those little things, those little nuggets that you only see when you're there about the players and whatever you want to read into that, he was the first guy on the field.
He was also reportedly the last guy.
He's thick for sure. Cutthroat Trader comes in and says, how did Willis look? Willis is, if you're looking for steady, that wasn't him. His highs were as high as anybody, and then he had lows that were probably lower than most of the guys. Some erratic throws. You hope you can get the consistency up at the top, because we talk about ceilings. He's got the best arm, probably the best runner, got the best ceiling.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's Sam Howell's probably closest, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of argument for anybody that was there that says the best tooled quarterback there was Malik Willis. I don't think that's going out on a limb.
Not at all. And it'll be fun to see him in the game setting as well, because I'm curious to see if he looks like just a different athlete out there at the quarterback position compared to the other guys. I mean, Malik Willis is the type of athlete where if it doesn't work out for quarterback for him, he could be a starting running back in the NFL. I mean, he really is that type of build and athlete. So a lot of fun. Still, accuracy, timing, pocket presence, stuff that's going to need some work. And one reason quarterbacks need to play to learn out there. I don't know about that, because Malik Willis has such get out of jail cards free that he could develop / further entrench bad habits, where instead of, going through his reads, I can just escape the pocket and tuck and run. Where against Liberty competition, that works. In the NFL, not going to work. So maybe a year to kind of give him different answers to the test, so to speak.
And that comes with maturity. You see that with a lot of young quarterbacks that are the best athletes on the field. That happens. So that comes with maturity. And he's got the arm talent to be a pocket passer without a doubt.
Yep.
He just hasn't always had to be. You can watch him. I say him and Sam Howell played very similar. One read, tuck and run.
Yep.
That was their read two was, I got to get out of here.
Yep.
And that was going on a lot when the pass rush was live. Billy Holman comes in. I saw ask about the LSU kid earlier, and it took me a while because there's several LSU guys there. So one of the answers was Ingram. Someone else mentioned Ingram, the guard from LSU, looked really good, really good. I was very impressed. I thought he was one of the best interior linemen I saw on the offense. Number 92, Neil Farrell, I think was a late entry maybe to the Senior Bowl. Either way, I think he's a step below some of the guys I mentioned, but would have put him at the top last year. I think he showed flashes of his raw athletic ability. And then in one-on-ones, I thought maybe he tried to do too much, where he's like, okay, I'm gonna dink and dance, where you've got one move. It's like, this is what I'm gonna do, and if it doesn't work, I'm blocked. Okay, but you got to get into it quicker. That's all just experience. Yep. From a prospect standpoint of size, burst, athleticism, effort, all those kind of things, Neil Farrell looked really, really good. I was pleased with him and thought I was pleased watching him, Billy. So thank you for the question.
Yeah, and some other guys I want to give a shout out here. I see EJ at 7:53 my time saying Trevor Penning tackle for you and I looks great. There's been a high variance of takes I've heard from Penning coming out there. He's pretty much getting everybody to fight him because he is blocking well past the whistle and getting people underneath people's skins. I've heard the name Richie Incognito thrown out multiple times surrounding Trevor Penning and his personality. So that can be a good or bad thing. We'll see. As far as Trevor Penning plays a little bit tall and his hands are a little high and wide. That concerns me early on. But yeah, he wants to fight everybody. He's a lot of fun in that regard. But
what I do, Nick, what I do like about though, there's no talking.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm gonna play a little extra, but he's not jabbering in his face after the fact.
No,
he's like, yeah, I put a little extra on you. Let's go again, because that was the first. What they did here is they went back to back at the first day of one-on-ones. for the national squad, and that's Tyreek Smith. They went back to back.
Mhm.
So, but that's him. Put a little extra on Tyreek Smith, but didn't talk about it.
No.
Didn't get up in his face or anything like that. Just gave him a little extra into a padded poll.
There was a little bit of upset coaches and people at the Senior Bowl day one when Trevor Penning had a little bit of extracurricular and threw a defensive lineman into the back legs of Desmond Ritter. I heard there was a big gasp at that moment, and Ritter was
I had a
okay.
couple of those moments, and I saw them with not just the quarterback. I saw them a couple times where guys were getting rolled up. So I might have had it on some of that too.
So a little bit concerned there with Penning. A guy I want to give a shout out to specifically here, who is, again, I'm very much a chest thumper when it says do not spend a first round pick on the off ball linebacker because the hit rate on that historically is not very good. NFL does not do a very good job evaluating the haves and the have nots. I mean, in my opinion, two of the best 3 linebackers in football right now are Fred Warner and Darius Leonard. Day 2 linebackers. It's not like the hit rate you see with cornerback or edge rusher in the first round. So Don Burr saying Malik won't get past Detroit once we trade back. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with you guys.
Depends on how far.
Yep.
That was an interesting trade from Detroit because they didn't marry themselves to the quarterback they traded for. I always get Goff and Wentz confused for some reason, but it was Goff that went. And contractually, it's like, okay, well, if we like him, instead of doing what the Panthers did and immediately picked up an option, and you're married to Sam Darnold for 2 years, there was more options there for Detroit, and they could absolutely be in at a quarterback.
Yep.
And then Cutthroat Trader is talking about the Washington football team, the commies. I'm calling them commies. I apologize to Washington fans, but I'm calling you the commies until I die. The Washington commies, and that's not a comment on the football team. That's a comment on Washington. So I don't think they'll get past Washington. Washington's at 11.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep.
Again, it only takes one. If Detroit says, okay, we can't find a trade partner to go down, 2. Wouldn't that be crazy? I got called nuts. I remember one time I was director of scouting at Scout, and someone talked about Cam Newton in the national championship game and how bad he looked. He looked awful. And I was like, well, those guys are off for 6 weeks before they get to play a game. There's no friendlies like soccer where I can get tune-up games. I said, yeah, that's fine. I said, but if you watched him play against South Carolina, I think that's who it was, or Missouri, I can't remember, in the SEC championship game, he looked like the number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
And someone said, see, that's the problem. The director of scouting come in here, and they had I almost used a bad word. They loved Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor couldn't throw. And they were always upset. They had a real inferiority complex about Cam Newton or Terrell Pryor. So that's the problem. Director of scouting's coming in here and saying Cam Newton's the number 1 overall pick. I'm like, that's not what I said. I actually think he should go around 10 to 15. But he outplayed that. I think he played to the level of a number 1 pick.
He did. Oh, for sure. For the quarterback.
Yeah, I think he earned that. An NFL MVP and all this stuff. So I think he earned that. So my evaluation on him was definitely not high enough. And maybe I'm like that with Malik Willis. Maybe. We'll see.
Just real quick, Washington name. I just thought of one that would have been so much better. The Washington Swamp Monsters. I mean, it really just leans into it. The whole city was built on a swamp, leaning back to, drain. Let's just, come on. Too good.
If we're going with truth in advertising, I think they could have gone with the Pirates. The Washington Pirates or Thieves or, bandits, anything like that, I think would have fit pretty well too. I feel like I remember you saying this name, Nick. Abraham Lucas.
For sure. He scares me a bit because his run game stuff was so erratic on tape and just not very often because of the air raid that you saw there in Washington. I don't think he's got a lot of pop and drive. I don't think he can sustain his blocks very well. I don't think he rolls through his hips when he's asked to climb to the second level, but he's long and he's a decent athlete. So he's somebody who probably needs a year in the system to work on his technique in the run game and understanding leverages and how to climb to the climb beyond that first level of the defense. But he's interesting, and because he actually has the body type to play tackle, he's going to go in the second or third round because there's just not enough people who have the body type to play that position. Circling back real quick because I wanted to get to this guy. He deserves a shout out. Emphatic. Don't take a linebacker day one. Not a good hit rate. Chad Muma, University of Washington, flying around length, natural coming downhill, natural sideline to sideline, fine flipping his hips and moving backwards. He's a dude, man. I am Chad Muma. Watch out for him. He is better than Logan Wilson. He should go somewhere day 2. Might end up being the best linebacker in this class.
So, Nick, we broke 100 concurrents for the first time on our little show on my channel. So thank you for coming in and watching, and make sure you hit any question and hit that like, follow, share, subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. We've picked up a bunch of new subscribers recently and would love to have you on there. And if you're watching after the fact, hit me up with questions. If you look through any of the videos, I'm all over them. I'm obsessive about, responding to people. So, and I love talking football on top of that. So hit that like, subscribe, and share button if you don't mind. Would love it for you. Nick, if you've got to go, I don't mind sticking around. Nick's got to get going, but I'll stick around and answer any questions. I was at Senior Bowl for 2 days, and would love to keep talking some football as we're, again at over 100 concurrents right now, which is really good for our fledgling little show, Nick. So I'll let you get out of here. Any final words besides don't take an off-ball linebacker in the first round?
Also, I think I'm going to say tight end as well. Another position you shouldn't take round 1, and nothing matters until you get the quarterback. Everyone have a good one. Have a good weekend. I'm going to go turn 30. I'll see you guys tomorrow night on Mile High Insiders with Luke. Excited to talk with Luke because he was down in Las Vegas covering the Shrine Bowl. So that'll be fun to talk about. And we got Miguel coming in here actually on YouTube. Miguel's typically a Facebook guy. So at the bottom, $5 super saying, "Sup fellas, did tackle or edge rusher rise in your evaluation over the Senior Bowl?" There are a few tackles that rose up during the Senior Bowl, in my opinion. I was hoping to see more from Bernard Raymond. I think he's still going to go round 1 because he is a freak athlete, but he's only played tackle for 2 years. He's from Austria, not Australia. Played tight end and put on like 70 pounds over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So he's one who you probably want to keep an eye out for. End of round 1. I'd love it if the Broncos could take him day 2. Max Mitchell from Louisiana is another one to keep an eye on from Raging Cajuns, Louisiana. He's very, very fun. And Braxton Jones from Southern Utah. Impressed me.
I liked Braxton Jones.
I call dibs, Scott. I'm sorry. The wide zone scheme, I really like Braxton Jones a lot. He's going to take some time. He's raw, but 36-inch arm length, moves pretty well. He's a dude. He is a dude.
I did like Braxton Jones a lot, but I'm gonna let you get out of here, and we'll see you this weekend over on Mile High Huddle. And I want to answer Miguel's question, then I'm gonna get to Jeremiah here coming in here in just a moment too. So have a good one. Appreciate you being here, Nick. I'm gonna stick around. I'm gonna be around as long as y'all want to talk football. I'll be here talking football at least till my voice gives out because now I'm out of coffee. So Nick, have a good one and appreciate you being here.
I'll pour you some more. Here, just reach your cup out. Okay. All right, see you guys.
So that's Nick Kendall. Nick's great. We have a lot of fun doing this. Now, he mentioned the tackles. What he didn't mention was the edges so much. Did edge rise in your evaluation over the Senior Bowl? Not just edge, but defensive tackle. So I thought the defensive line was really, really encouraging to me, considering how, the top guy last year was considered Christian Barmore, who had a good season, but for an interior line, it wasn't a great year. So this year, I see all kinds of guys on the interior line too, but on the edge, I'm just looking over my roster here. Sam Williams, Ole Miss. Wow. Whoa. 6'3.5", 250 pounds, 80-inch wingspan. He was making it look easy. We talk about that Von Miller dip. Watch the one-on-ones on the American team. Go watch them, and you'll see number 7. And I've got some more drills of him running hoops and all kinds of stuff and more. And if it was full pads, and this is why you can't do this, but if it was full pads, full on go, in order to get anything done on offense, they would have had to take Sam Williams off the field because he just was living in the backfield, just living. And, they run by and they tap the quarterback on the hip and go right by, or they pull up and let him go so they can finish the play so everybody else can get some work. Otherwise, Sam Williams and Jermaine Johnson from Florida State were ending plays completely on their own. We mentioned Boye Mafe earlier, Minnesota. A little hot and cold for me. Some really good things and some times where he was handled. let's see. Sanders. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. I haven't gotten that far. Like Majai Sanders had some good things. And I'll tell you one guy who I also liked. I didn't realize he was this big, honestly, because he's wearing number 53. Looks like a linebacker out there. But Kingsley and Egbare, South Carolina. For me, he's number 53, South Carolina, playing edge. Love the motor on this kid. Love it. There was a lot of good things to see on him. And then number 95 on the national team, when you're watching one-on-ones, that's why I like to mention numbers too, and that's how I remember them, is Isaiah Thomas out of Oklahoma. So I had maybe from edge and from defensive tackle a few guys last year at Senior Bowl that I was like, yeah, these guys could be good. But this year, I'm excited. From Applegate. If I go to the deal and I start thinking Perion Winfrey, Oklahoma, Devontae Wyatt, Georgia, Travis Jones, UConn, Zach Carter is a tweeter. He'd be from Florida. Could be a perfect three. I think Grady Jarrett. Is he a defensive tackle or is he a 3-4 defensive end? Fits in there very nicely. So yes, I was very excited about the big men in the trenches this year. And then Jeremiah Chavez comes in and appreciate the support, Jeremiah. So did the measurables actually hurt Roger McCurry? I don't know. Where? Because I don't see Roger McCurry on the Senior Bowl. So I don't know. Was he at Roger McCreary? I'm sorry. Okay. I just typed in Roger. I actually looked. I did a search. He was 5'10", 189 with his arm length was about almost his arm length was normal, which means they're short. So he's at 5'11". That's 71 inches, and he had a 70.5 wingspan. That's normal. That's what most people have. Roger had a good week. Roger McCreary had a good week. He was one of my favorite cornerbacks there. Now, full disclosure, I went to Auburn. I don't care. The people say, who do you root for? I say, I root for me. If I say Travis Jones was really good at UConn, I want him to be really good. If I say Julio Jones was the best wide receiver coming out of high school, I don't care that he went to Alabama. I want him to be the best wide receiver in college football. So Roger McCreary, I thought he looked really, really good in coverage. And for what I watched of the secondary, which wasn't a ton, he had several flash plays. So the measurables may have knocked him down a little bit, but if it did, his play elevated them. Appreciate the question. And let me bounce one of the spammers in here. I feel like you're making it when you're getting spammers too. Sanders needs like 40 pounds. Where did Sanders come in? He came in at 6'4.5", 242 pounds. So he'll play 255. So it's 6'4", 255 playing an edge. That's not too bad. Dontario Drummond, Dia Singh says, I feel like as a hidden gem and could fit into the role of Deebo Samuel late day 2 or day 3 selection. My thoughts? Someone else has probably said this because that's kind of what I was thinking too. The Cordell Patterson type, because he's got good size. And this is a wide receiver from Ole Miss. And his first day, he really, really struggled catching the ball. He really did. But he measured just a shade over 6 foot, 6'1.5", 217 pounds. So 6 foot, 220. What position does that sound like if you struggle catching the ball a little bit? How about running back? As soon as I saw him with the high socks, the big white socks returning kicks, I was like, that looks familiar. So find a way to get the ball in his hands. But I'm not talking. I literally saw him drop more passes on day 1 than everybody else combined. So he really struggled. Made some catches over the course of the next day, but I don't know. I haven't watched him enough to say, okay, was this just jitters? Was just this off day? But for me, from what I saw, his hands were a question mark. So therefore, hey, pitch it to him. Is he good with the ball in his hands? Turn around. We'll just pitch it to you. So I think that's a good shout and see if we can use his athleticism like that. Scrolling down a little bit. And again, we've got like 120 folks in here. So don't be shy. Don't be shy. Hit that like button and ask the questions. Kevin Mapp, Falcons fan here, says, we need a can't miss at number 8. Who do we go with? Well, there's no such thing as a can't miss. There's no such thing. But at number 8 for the Atlanta Falcons, there's several guys I think that could fall. The closest thing for me to a can't miss is if the NFL gets stupid and says we don't care about safety and Kyle Hamilton falls, he's the best player in this draft. I'm convinced. You won't convince me otherwise. There's no reason arguing with it. I don't argue with people that won't change their mind, and you're probably not going to change mine. Kyle Hamilton is a dude. He's probably the best player in this draft. If he falls to 8, take him. The kid's 19 miles, went to high school 19 miles from Atlanta, can do all kinds of things, totally transforms the back end of your defense. Can you get, and then you start looking at edge, is George Karlaftis, is David Ajabo, are those guys can't miss? Is Sam Williams can't miss? Is Jermaine Johnson can't miss? How about Charles Cross? There was a comment in here earlier, and it was it may have been from a Mississippi State fan. Welcome. Sorry, I'll bring it up. He says that Charles Cross is going to end up being the best offensive tackle in this draft. He might be. Ike Ekwonu might be the best offensive tackle. Evan Neal. There's several guys. That's when we talk about this draft. I've said it before. I'll say it again. You're almost better off drafting 5 to 10 financially than you are 1 to 5. I don't see that big a difference. I don't see the top end guys that are the Myles Garretts, the types that are just a Bosa. A Bosa would go number 1. Either one of them. Last year you had, let's say Micah Parsons may have gone high. There were some just dudes out there. Pat Surtain, Kyle Pitts. I think I already said him. Some of Jamar Chase may be number 1 overall in this class. There's a lot of really good players. This is a good year to have a bunch of picks, but not necessarily being drafting at the top where you still have to pay that sliding scale. You still have to pay the 1 to 5, but you might not be getting a much better player, if at all, than the guys that are 5 to 10, 11 to 15. But if Hamilton falls to 8, I'm going with him. And the other one on that is if the Falcons take a wide receiver, Treylon Burks, if they take Burks out of Arkansas at 8, I will be unmerciful. I really will. A wide receiver right now they need receivers. Don't get me wrong. I think I looked it up, and the receivers that are returning right now, not counting Ridley, because I don't think he'll ever play for the Atlanta Falcons again, have 1 catch for 13 yards in their career. So they need receivers. But if you cannot pass block, if you cannot run block, and if you cannot play defense, a receiver is a luxury you can't afford. So you've gotta get the basics down before I go and get a receiver. So that's the one spot I'm like, no. And I'm not sold on quarterback. Doesn't mean I feel like I'm right on that. So if you're Terry Fontenot and you say, okay, we love this quarterback, okay. I don't. So I wouldn't advocate for that pick. That doesn't mean I'm right. Receiver's not going to do you much good, man. It's just not in the short term. Not until you fix those lines of scrimmage on both sides. When you are 11 sacks behind the 31st team, if I draft a guy and George Karlaftis comes in and gets you 10 sacks as a rookie and you're still in last place, I know I need more help on the lines of scrimmage than I do. When I got Caleb McGarry in his 3rd year giving up 10 sacks, I got Jalen Mayfield playing left guard, who was the worst graded Pro Football Focus pass blocker in football. I can't afford a wide receiver in that spot. Coming down here just a little bit, said, could Chris Walker said, could Hutchinson fall to 8? Would he be a good fit? Need an edge for sure. The pro day, I think, will be interesting for him. I think the pro day is where you want to watch. How good is he going to be? When we looked at go look back, do Penn State 2021 pro day, Micah Parsons, and his name was Jason Oway at the time. Those guys put up freaky numbers. Is David Ajabo going to outshine Aiden Hutchinson at pro day? That's what I'm watching for sure. Crew Dog coming in. Appreciate the questions. Any small school linemen doing real well? Yes. Yes, there are. We mentioned Trevor Penning has looked really good. And then offensive line. Let me see. How small do you consider, down here in SEC country, you might consider Minnesota small. But no, Daniel Falele, I just happened to see his name. Braxton Jones, we mentioned him, 6'5", 306 out of Southern Utah with a 7-foot wingspan. I think I like the way he looks, lean. Let me see. Matt Waletzko out of North Dakota has flashed at times for me. 6 foot. He's just a pinch under 6'7", under 6'7", and 310 pounds, lean, 86-inch wingspan. So someone else to watch there. And then on the defensive line, a couple interior guys. I mentioned number 99, Eric Johnson, Missouri State, has impressed me. I do like him. I do like him for sure. Appreciate the question. Let me see. Coming down here a little bit. I'm sure there's more questions coming in. And Indade says the Bengals got everybody riled up because they went Chase instead of Sewell on the OL. That worked out pretty good, though, didn't it? I don't know that Burks is Jamar Chase. If you could guarantee me Jamar Chase at 8, I might be able to get on board with that. But you know what? Jamar Chase might have half that yardage with the Falcons instead of the Bengals because you don't have any time to throw the ball. I mean, I know, Scott, they gave up 9 sacks. I know. But again, their offensive line, I still don't think is as bad as the Atlanta Falcons. And if you got Chase, well, if you had a Chase this year and you paired him with Kyle Pitts, now you got 2 pretty good options. It would open up Kyle Pitts. So, all right, maybe you can talk me into it if you can guarantee me that you can get Jamar Chase. Let me see. Falele needs to get meaner. Indade. Another question. Okay, 2 good comments in a row. I was reading comments. Falele, I'll tell you what, one of the scouting things I learned through the years, and we're up to 150, so welcome. Hit that like, subscribe, and share button. Appreciate you being here. We'll be doing lots more, and if you're following after the fact, put some questions in. I'll get to some questions now. We'll scroll through here, but after the fact, I'll answer your questions in the chat as well. One of the interesting things about offensive linemen is you look for a mean streak because you're watching these kids in high school, and so many of the big kids are told their whole lives to be careful. Don't hit that kid. Pull it back. That they're soft. Literally, they're soft. You get them to high school and they're soft because they've been told their whole lives. You know, guys that end up being 300-pound kids in high school are huge kids, and they've been brought back. They've been pulled back their whole lives. Falele's 6'8" plus, 380 pounds. When he engages with someone, it's over. It is absolutely over. He's so strong. At right tackle, if he's moving laterally, he's got the guy. He's got enough lateral movement in one direction that he can protect that edge. Where I saw him struggle is when he had to then change directions. So if I go outside and I give you one of these, he was struggling. You can see it in the one-on-ones. The guys that beat him would usually start outside and then cut inside. So he needs to get a little quicker laterally in order to be as good as he can be at right tackle. Good question. Silas Whittle. Appreciate you coming in, Silas. So based on what you've seen so far, who's a better prospect between Ridgeway and Travis Jones? Can I cheat? I'd probably go Travis Jones on this. I think I see a little bit of more lateral quickness out of him, a little bit more strength off the initial punch, but I do like Ridgeway. I do. Good size. I think they're within a pound. They weighed within a pound of each other. So whoever had the extra biscuit at breakfast is going to be, one was 326 and one was 327. I do like Ridgeway, but I think Travis Jones probably has a little bit stronger initial punch and is a little bit better laterally, a little bit quicker. Good question. Thanks, Silas. Panthers rule coming in. And this is a place where, again, could Malik Willis go to the Panthers at 6? Yeah, he could. He absolutely could. I saw Kenny Pickett mocked a lot of times to them at 6, and that's because, yeah, they need a quarterback, and Pickett might be the best guy. Willis have the strongest arm in this class. I haven't watched him back-to-back with Corral. He's got the strongest arm at the Senior Bowl, and it's really not that close. He's got by far the strongest arm at the Senior Bowl. I was watching through my video, and normally I'll start at the quarterback and move and follow the ball to the receivers. This one I happen to start on the receiver, and I saw the ball zip in. I was like, well, that was Malik Willis. I knew who threw the ball based on how the ball arrived. And my camera, luckily, I was me filming, and I went back to make sure I knew who threw the ball. My camera follows it over, and I see Malik Willis. I'm like, yeah, that was pretty obvious. I knew who threw that ball. That's the kind of arm difference it is. I knew who threw the ball the way the ball arrived. That's how I can describe Malik Willis. Coming down here just a little bit. And thanks, Panthers Rule. Appreciate you being here. A little backstory. I grew up an Atlanta Falcons fan. I'm in Atlanta. And I remember right when the Panthers were launching, the Falcons had June Jones. If they don't fire June Jones, I'm going to be a Panthers fan. That's how upset I was back then in my early 20s, and very volatile. Not the calm person I am now. 3.5 hours up 85. Great town in Charlotte. Great town. And Luke MC comes in and said, I draft Mechie with the Julio pick. The Julio pick is 58 overall, and John Mechie, the wide receiver at Alabama that was hurt. I think that's a good shout. Could be interesting. Low Keese said, did Jermaine Johnson make a case to be a top 15 pick? Yes, he did. Absolutely. If you read David Ajabo, top 15. If you read George Karlaftis, top 15. There's no reason Jermaine Johnson shouldn't be top 15. I forget. I didn't see his measurements, but he looks big. He looks 260 range, and he bounces, and he uses his hands, and he's got a high motor. He was productive. I think he had 70 tackles and 11.5 sacks last year at Florida State. So he's got the production to back it up. I got on the Spencer Brown bandwagon last year, and I said he should have been a first-round pick, and he fell to the end of the third and started for the Buffalo Bills this year. And I think he's going to play his way to where he should have been a first-round pick. I'm on the Jermaine Johnson bandwagon this year. So I agree 100% there. Guys, if you can't tell, my voice is starting to give out. Let me get to Silas here real quick. Appreciate you, Silas. So how does a DB Evans from Mizzou project at the NFL level? Now, I haven't gotten to watch a ton of the defensive backs, I'll be honest with you. But it was a Caleb Evans out of Missouri, measured as a corner, 6'2" and 200 pounds, with a 74-inch reach, 32-inch arms. He's got the physical tools. He's got the size. He was number 26. I don't remember seeing him that much in practices, watching the different things. So he didn't flash to me. Roger McCreary flashed to me, Silas. But Caleb doesn't. Now, that doesn't mean anything. It might mean that he was so good in coverage that nobody tested him. So apologies. I don't have a better answer for you there. I'll be interested in the pro days for a guy like that, because he's got the size. Now I want to see, and just a hint, if you're new to scouting these guys, most of y'all that are here watching now probably know this stuff, but I'm going to say it anyway. Don't watch the 40s. Watch the shuttle times. Watch the L cones. That's where you find your athletes, especially corners. I used to go to high school combines, and I'd sort. You'd have 300 kids there, and I'd sort not by 40. I'd sort by shuttle. And I'd basically, anybody under 4.2 at that age, I'm like, here are your punt returners and your cornerbacks. That's where you find your athletes. So pro day for a guy like Evans is going to be big for him. GD, appreciate the good words. Says you're the main guy when it comes to Senior Bowl scouting. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And then Chris Walker coming in. I don't remember there being was there a Mississippi State? I don't remember a Mississippi State receiver being there. So we'll check into more of him later. This to me is kind of the launching point for NFL draft. We've got February, March, and April. So we've got a good 10 weeks. We'll be on here a ton. Again, hit that subscribe button, please. If you're on Facebook, you can find me at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy, just my name. Hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be loading a ton of highlight videos of these guys. Jermaine Johnson, Sam Williams, Trevor Penning, all the rest of the quarterbacks. I've done just the one-on-ones and just the two quarterbacks so far, the two most talked about quarterbacks, Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett. I'll probably finish. I think I did almost 60 last year, highlight videos. I'll probably get between 45 and 50 this year. So tune in. And as GD says, Jermaine Johnson, I'll probably do him next. This guy, I love him. I love him, especially when you're watching, when you've watched, 17 games of the Atlanta Falcons and you go look at Steven Means' stat sheet and literally didn't have a sack or tackle or quarterback pressure or anything. And mind-boggling, almost statistically impossibly bad. I mean, you should have a blown assignment where you get a free shot at the quarterback at least over the course of 10 games. But yeah, I'm excited about Jermaine Johnson. I'm excited to keep talking college football, NFL draft with y'all. Appreciate you being here. Tell a friend. So again, my voice is given out. Hit the comments after the fact, and I will see you there. Appreciate you being here. We'll be doing this a lot more often on this channel, and we'll welcome you to the community. Until next time, we'll see you later.